I don't know if it's from Dreaming Roses or Decorating the Rose Float or what, but we had worked together. I recognized her. And then the last family that came up, I knew the mother or the wife. She works at Scarantino's and she works at Sabor. And she was one of the lucky ones. It's the small world theory. And I'm very happy. I was happy for her because I've known her for some time. And that sure is an improvement on the site that was there before, building it over a flood control channel and all that. And I think the neighborhood now sees what the Habitat for Humanity can do there in this city. I tried to explain how difficult it is for this housing authority to put these packages together, the complexity in the financing to make it happen, because it was written in the past, downtown Glendale, we're not putting affordable housing into the projects. Well, they're exempt from it, but that doesn't mean we aren't trying desperately to find places in the city when we can, which is extremely difficult to do. And we have Kenwood coming up, which is going to be, God, half the number we have in the entire city are going to be coming up in one swell project. And it's a great partnership we've had with the Habitat. And I was very surprised the number of people that showed up. I think there were more Trojans than Bruins out there. Everybody got up and spoke about their alumni group. So it added a little levity to it, but it was great. And I can't wait for the Kenwood project now.
You know, one thing, excuse me, Frank, but one thing that that was good is the some of the corporations that really support this. Disney.
They put in $100,000.
Yeah, and they also volunteered. A lot of their people were down there working.
The Disney ears. Yeah.
Citibank, they gave $25,000.
And the big gift baskets from Disney.
Yeah.
So it was very nice.
Yeah, just so the public understands that the owners of these new properties, the families that are in these properties, actually build the homes themselves. They have to contribute at least 500 hours towards the construction, so that to me makes it very worthwhile. And what has always been the practice is that families who have moved into these Habitat for Humanity projects continue to actually volunteer for the new projects. So I think that's Habitat for Humanity for sure is the best bang for the buck in affordable housing. Then the second thing is the design of these three units. Just a very, very well done project. As you drive by, you look and are really impressed with the architecture, the way it's laid out. It was a very difficult site, and it worked out very well for everyone concerned. So I'm very enthusiastic about Habitat for Humanity, and hopefully we're just going to keep partnering with them throughout the city.
As I recall, most of the children of the three families above the age of 5 or 6, most of the kids, who more needs more than a one-bedroom when you have kids that are teenage years or up. Wasn't one student, going to JPL?
Yeah, one goes to PCC, and it's the first time he's ever had a room to himself, and he was ecstatic.
USC, he said.
USC?
He said USC, yeah.
So it's nice to see that, to think they're all have been living in a one-bedroom. Mm-hmm. That's just... There's so many out there like that. It's just unfortunate that we can't serve more. We keep trying. Well, thank you. Any other comments? Okay, what's next, please?
I think there's one other item.
There is?
On the agenda under authority
staff comments? That's it. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Sonia?
No.
Motion to adjourn?
Wait up. Sonia?
Oh, I'm sorry.
You should be. Was moved to adjourn?
I was looking at the minutes. I don't know why I did that.
Would you like to adjourn?
Because there a second
No, we've
to adjourn?
had that meeting. Oh, I do make a motion for adjournment.
No, he did. You
Oh, he
seconded
did
it?
second.
Okay, we stand adjourned.
That's okay.
That's the first time here. I get confused.
Mr. Draymond's on. Take care.
Well, welcome to the September 18th meeting of the Glendale Redevelopment Agency. Sakian, if you would call the roll, please.
Agency members: Najarian.
Here.
Quintero.
Here.
Weaver,
Here.
Chairman Yusefian, Vice Chair Draymond.
Here. Let me hear your report, please.
The agenda for the September 18, 2007 regular meeting of the Glendale Redevelopment Agency was posted on Thursday, September 13, 2007, on the bulletin board outside City Hall.
Thank you. Let me see here. Looks like we have minutes only.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
And we have a second. All right. And the minutes are,
Approved as submitted?
yes. Yes, the ventriloquist act you're hearing is my colleague, Mr. Weaver, who apparently takes exception to the fact I speak very slowly and deliberatively.
But you're
So-
very eloquent when you do.
Well, thank you, Mr. Weaver. So, let's move on. I have one card for oral communications, and that is Herbert Milano.
Members of the agency, my name is Herbert Milano and city staff. Sometimes I feel like a very lonely voice out here since oftentimes I'm the only one from the public speaking. I may suggest, Mr. Draymond, that maybe we can encourage more people to come by, maybe you can record your voice on somebody's reading recorder at home.
I see.
And say, this is the home of so-and-so, and I think might encourage people to come over just for that privilege of having your voice recorded.
Mr.
on that.
Milano, I will gladly do so.
I wanted to speak with regard to the issue of the cost of the litigation of my lawsuit against the City of Glendale with regard to the downtown specific plan. Last week, it was alluded that the cost of the litigation for the city was either $600,000 or some humongous number like $800,000, and for the life of me, I could not even ponder that cost would be even relevant. So I did a California Records Act request, and the only document that I have here that has a motion from the city with regard to payment, it says here, expenses to be paid to attorneys shall not exceed $170,000 in the aggregate. Now, we could discuss further regarding the cost, but this is the only document that I was given from the California Records Act request. But if we discuss cost to the city with regard to defending an EIR, I mentioned earlier that it is our only choice for residents to challenge information here that appears on these EIRs. And I want to give you an example of two of those that really are what I would say incredible, unbelievable, or perhaps more suitable to a novel by Kafka. Here is, for example, a paragraph on section 2.0-5. This has to do with the project impact on the aesthetics, on the view of the mountains. This is the Verdugo Mountains. It says development of the proposed project would enhance off-site views of these resources. Now, you're building a 24-story building here for this Verdugo Gardens, right? And then it continues, as residents on the upper floors would have improved views of the surrounding mountains. This is bizarre. Development of the proposed project would enhance off-site views. So how can you have an off-site view if you're standing in the upper floors of a development? It looks to me like these are boilerplates that you simply added and brought upon, but is anybody really reading this? I'll give you another example of the type of things that I find in these EIRs. On one section, it shows that approximately 10,000 new residents, cumulative, 10,000, it's over 10,000, would be in this area. And yet, on page 2.027, with regard to cumulative impacts on water, it says, no cumulative impacts to water supplies and water treatment facilities associated with this project and related projects would result. How could that be? If you're going to have 10,000 more residents, how can it not have an impact on water usage or sewer capacity, for example? And that's my issue. The issue is that statements are made such that for the resident seems incredulous that that could be true in the middle of a major drought. How could that be? And then when it comes to mitigation, such as mitigation for parks, they say, well, so long as we have an impact fee, it's resolved. But I look at opportunities that are missed. For example, if a development is going to have a multi-story parking structure, why not have a public use and have an extra floor where we would have a passive park for the public? If you ever stand in top of the parking structure on Orange and Wilson, in California, you're going to see a significant side of the mountains, and it will be an incredible place for the elderly to have their, green space. Or on the top floor of the structure on Maryland and Harvard. We spend millions of dollars there, and, as we look at opportunities, I'm not suggesting that you should do precisely that, but, it's only up to our imagination to see what we could do, or to take funds and actually build artificial turf for the other schools, like Hoover High School or Roosevelt Middle School, where we could actually take the other uses having to do with recreational physical activities for youth and basically make good use of those opportunities. So even though there is a shortage of land and land is expensive, I think our only limitation is our imagination and our willingness to look at other opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Milano, and you win the award for being the only person in a city government hearing within 100 square acres, probably, or miles, rather, to have mentioned Franz Kafka. So,
Mr.
Yes, sir.
Chairman,
Mr. Weaver.
for the public's information, we all received a memo from the city attorney's office this afternoon. It says this memorandum is to inform you of the total invoices received from outside counsel through July 31st, 2007 for the Downtown Specific Plan defense litigation, which involved Mr. Milano. Total cost through July, $328,204.22. This figure does not include invoices for August, which will reflect intensive trial preparation work and appearance at trial. There will be additional billing in September involving the preparation of the proposed judgment and the preparation of a memorandum of costs. The city, as prevailing parties, entitled to collect costs related to the preparation of the case. So that is how much, probably going to go well over $400,000, and I can't wait to see the city reimbursed by the people that decided to sue the city of Glendale. Mr. Howard?
Mr. Howard.
Mr. Chairman, members of the agency, quick mea culpa on my part. It was I who noted the approximate $500,000 to $600,000 figure as an estimate at the time that I mentioned it approximately 2 weeks ago. And in response to that, I believe it was Mayor Najarian asked for a memorandum specifically outlining the precise costs, and that's why you've got the memorandum. So mea culpa from me. My estimate was off by what will appear to be, I think, in the end of the day, maybe $100,000 to $150,000.
That's
Thank
still,
you, Mr. Howard.
that's still $400,000 or $500,000 that could have been spent in a lot of ways in this city.
Mayor Najarian.
And I'm not sure if that was provided to Mr. Milano under the records request.
We just
but
got that this afternoon. That's what I
Why
said.
don't we give him a copy of that, so we've given him all the documents that we possess.
Here, you can get my copy.
Unless that's confidential.
No, in fact, we would give him a gross billing amount from the attorneys, and any member of the public who would ask us for, we won't give them the bills, but we will give them a copy or at least a statement of what the precise amount was, and this is the amount that we have for the invoices.
Let me just stop for a moment here. Maybe we can pick this up under agency comments, since this is still oral communications. So having no other speaker cards, let me just close oral communications, and if I can ask the city clerk to take us to the next item, please.
Mr. Vice Chair, the next item is agency member staff comments.
Well, only other thing I'd like, Howard, when you get to that point, I'd like to know what reimbursement we're entitled to as a city.
I can respond very briefly to
you already
that
know
question. And generally, the CEQA litigation, the writ, we are entitled to, as prevailing party, to collect for our costs. That does not include attorneys' fees, as distinct from costs.
That's right.
And those would be for the cost of staff members, not usually litigation paralegals, but other staff members that assisted in the preparation of the administrative record. There was some considerable amount of work involved in that multi-volume document that was necessary for the court's review, and we are in the process of assembling those hours right now for purposes of preparing that memorandum of costs.
And those costs, of course, are borne by the taxpayers taxes.
They are until they are reimbursed. The attorney's fees are borne by, yes, are
I'd
borne
like
by
to
the
know what those
taxpayers.
costs are, too, when you get them.
When we are completed, you have the figure through July
Yeah, for the outside attorneys.
for the outside
Talking
attorneys.
inside.
I think you're speaking of whatever costs we submit in the form of a cost bill. You want to know what those costs are. We'll make sure we get that figure to them.
All right. Do we have any other agency member or staff comments? Okay. We go on, please.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
And second. Okay, thank you. We are adjourned at 3 o'clock.
Okay. Yes.
Speaking of joints, no, it's not a joint, it's just special.
Okay. I'd like to call to order the Glendale City Council. Today's Tuesday, September 18th, 2007, and we are conducting a special meeting today. May we have the roll call, please?
Council members Draymond,
Here.
Quintero,
Here.
Weaver,
Here.
Yusefian, Mayor Najarian.
Here.